Welcome to this episode of our program, Daily Debate. Tonight we'll be celebrating together, or celebrating with you, the 87th anniversary of the Media Day. This is a very special occasion for us, and it has been challenged throughout the past 87 years. The very start of this day was when the Egyptian radio started with "This is Egypt," or "Here is Egypt," and or "Huna al-Qahira." And then it was then, or years after years, and we started celebrating this very special occasion until the start of the ERTU and the Egyptian media at large that saw many developments throughout the past years. Tonight we'll be speaking about the role of media that has been played throughout the past years, the very challenging role that it has been playing, the very challenging role it has right now, the developments of the media scene, and how are we supposed to be tackling challenges and threats that we are meant to be doing such a mission. Before we delve into our discussion to this very dear occasion, let me first start with the top stories of the day. And President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi stressed that ending the Palestinian factions division is a must. President Sisi called on regional and international powers to boost Egypt's efforts for reconstructing the Gaza Strip. He said that reconciliation has to be achieved as soon as possible under the umbrella of the Palestinian Liberation Organization. The President reiterated Egypt's full support for the Palestinian people and their leadership. This came as Chief of the General Intelligence, General Abbas Kamel, visited the Gaza Strip for a number of meetings with the Palestinian factions, including leaders of the Gaza Strip and officials from Gaza. The talks covered means of ending the Palestinian division. Upon arriving in the Gaza Strip, Kamel toured sites suggested for the construction projects. Kamel met on Sunday with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in Ramallah, carrying a message from President Sisi, reiterating his full support for the Palestinian people. The message also conveyed the Egyptian keenness for the interests of the Palestinian people. Upon the directives of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Egypt sent on Monday a gift of humanitarian aid to the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. 52 trucks of humanitarian aid from President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and from Egypt has arrived in the Gaza Strip. This is part of the Egyptian leadership efforts to alleviate the sufferings of the Palestinian people after the latest Israeli aggression. And to highlight this issue, we have with us over the phone Dr. Rami Nazar, head of the Egyptian Red Crescent. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, Mona.
Good evening to you. And we're speaking tonight about the not just the Egyptian convoy that has been sent to Gaza upon the directives of the president, but also about Egypt's efforts so far during the past period and during the Israeli aggression, opening hospitals, receiving injured, and all the scene at then.
Of course, since the attack that toward Gaza happened 1 week ago, or more than 1 week ago, the Egyptian Red Crescent, as an auxiliary body to the government, communicate with the Palestinian Red Crescent at the post of the National Society, is working in humanitarian aid. We send it after 48 hours from the attack, the humanitarian aid in the form of medical supplies and some of the disaster relief items that the Palestinian Red Crescent need in this time. And after the attack, we as an Egyptian Red Crescent, under the umbrella of the government, sending two of our colleagues, I mean that from our staff, that go to the to the Palestinian Red Crescent to see the damage that happened, and also to visit patients inside the hospital and to see some of the things that happened, and also to assist the need with the Palestinian And until now, we're still sending humanitarian aid in cooperation with the government, and also facilitate the international donations that came through Egypt. Adding to that, the staff and the volunteer of the Egyptian Red Crescent is supporting injured people coming through the borders, providing to them first aid, helping them inside the ambulance, psychosocial support, and also some of the special needs that they have. All of this effort, I believe that it's not the Egyptian Red Crescent alone, it's also with other Egyptian entities and also with the support of the government during this tough time.
Mm-hmm. Right, so as we've just read, or as I just read here, that a convoy of humanitarian aid was sent today to the Gaza Strip. Would you brief us on this convoy and the message that was sent by this aid, and how people in Gaza received this or these convoys?
So as you know, that as a part of the crisis management, the first thing that we usually send to the affected people after a crisis or during the crisis usually contains the medical supplies and instruments and relief items that people need, because the majority, or not the majority, let me say that most of the affected people lost their homes and they went to shelter, so they need some items that can survive. So all of this convoy contains the essential and necessary products like the medical supplies, the gloves, the drugs, medicine, and also the food item and the non-food items. All this, it is still Egyptian side supporting the Palestinian side through the Palestinian Red Crescent and also to the government of Palestine.
Right. I guess we'll be hearing from more and more from the Egyptian side to our brothers in the Palestinian territories. Mr. Rami Al-Nazar, head of the Egyptian Red Crescent, we thank you so much for being with us over the phone. And back to our episode and celebrating the Media Day. Before we delve into this discussion, let's first have this quick report and we'll come back for more discussion.
Today, Egypt is celebrating the 87th Media Day, a day that marks the beginning of the first official radio broadcasting services on May 31st of 1934. The first announcement of the Egyptian radio was in 1925 in the form of private radio stations owned by individuals and dependent for their financing on advertisements. On May 1926, a royal decree was issued that defined controls and conditions of work. On May 29th of 1934, all private radio stations were stopped to prepare for the establishment of the official radio broadcasting services. As forms of media developed all over the world, the need to start television broadcasting services in Egypt became an important issue. Construction of the Radio and TV Union building was completed in 1960 on the banks of the River Nile, as the TV began its first broadcasting on July 21st of 1960. It was 7 o'clock on the evening of July 21st, 1960, when the Arab TV started in Egypt and Syria at the same time. The television in the beginning was black and white until the color broadcast in 1977. The main mission of the radio and TV is to spread culture, literature, art, religious, news and sports programs. As for television, in 1990, the Egyptian satellite channel started broadcasting as the first Arab satellite channel and then continued launching more Egyptian satellite channels, including Nile TV International, the specialized Nile channel group between news, drama, variety, sports, family and information, as well as 7 educational channels. The Egyptian media, with all its types and forms, radio, television and press, continues to play a very important role in society on various levels. With a great sense of responsibility, it continues to combine efforts in support of the nation to achieve development, construction and stability.
Right, welcome back, and let me just welcome our very distinguished guests that I'm honored to do this episode with, Dr. Hussein Amin, Professor of Journalism and Mass Communication. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's a very special occasion, and I guess that nobody would have been able to speak better. Definitely.
I'm not sure.
Really? Okay.
Thank you.
So, thank you. And let me, before I start with my episode, let me take, how do you view the role of media that has been played during the very long time it has been throughout the past decades?
In Egypt or worldwide?
Definitely. No, we'll speak first in Egypt, and then we'll do.
All right.
Please.
Egypt was a leading country in introducing radio. And actually, today we celebrate the Egyptian radio, the 87th anniversary
Yes.
of the Egyptian radio, which I started 1934 with one of the big, huge establishment in the United States, which is called the Federal Communication Commission. Both started in 1934. Through the years, the Egyptian radio played very effective parts in different points of history and in different points of challenging times that Egypt passed through. For example, one of the transnational services that was established when transistor was introduced was the Egyptian Voice of the Arabs. And it really influenced a lot of movements, freedom movements throughout the Arab world. It was very popular.
Yes.
I mean,
indeed.
I witnessed this because of my age, of course. But the radio transistor, for the first time, people used to have it in different parts, away from the cities, in different countries, and received the Voice of the Arabs. So this is one major influence of Voice of the Arabs. And then the Egyptian also specialized radio channels to Africa, also played a very important part to link Egypt with the different countries in Africa. This is in the past for radio. Televisions, as you know, started in 1960, and also was started with 3 channels. This is, it was just like any giant in Europe or in the United States. It was really huge and played very effective roles in developing the Egyptian culture scene. This is when a lot of what we define as soft power was introduced throughout the products of the Egyptian television. That, of course, used a lot of Egyptian movies, and which is based on the movie industry that was, again, introduced at the beginning of the 19th century. This is, it's very complicated if you look at the scene, but it played very well because the Egyptian dialect, in terms of the language, was very popular, not only in Morocco, but throughout the Maghreb countries, up to the Kuwait and Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states. So this is what, we started building on it. Through this building in Maspero, they used to be called ERTU, the Egyptian Radio and Television Union, now changed to be the National Media Council.
Yes.
The Egyptian public broadcaster with different tasks. However, in 1986, Arabsat 1A was established, and in 1990, the first country to utilize the S-band of Arabsat was Egypt during the Gulf War. Also, companies like CNE, Egypt News Network, also was established at the time, and the only television channel that started to feed all Arab news bulletins was the Egyptian satellite channel. That was 1990. I can talk more about details, but I don't want to bore you with the details.
It's not boring at all. It's very interesting to know how we were the pioneers.
It's about the war and how we had our transmitter established with there, and how we broadcast news from home to the Egyptian army that was going in Kuwait to liberate Kuwait.
Yes.
And very interesting details. But at the early of the 90s also we started looking into establishing the Egyptian satellite, Egyptian satellite, Nilesat, that for the first time depended on digital technology, allowing the merge of not only tens but hundreds
Yes.
of television channels, having a great impact on the Arab world. The combination of Arabsat and Nilesat, there are thousands of television channels really playing all kinds of rules with regard to promoting the culture, values, and providing news and information, entertaining the Arab people, and playing very significant roles with regard to promoting different kinds of aspects that related to sports, to women, to children, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now we are in 1990. The first Egyptian satellite was launched in 28th of April, 1998. Okay. And ever since, we've been witnessing the birth of a lot of television channels. In 1998 also there was a task force, was composed of some really pioneers that put together all the Nile television networks. This was in 1998.
Yes.
They said, but I don't want to talk about the names and their importance because many of the audiences, they will not relate to the people, but
Yes.
they are excellent, wonderful, talented, hard-working people. Also, at the beginning of the 90s, this channel, Nile TV, was born through the APCT conference. That we thought that it will be important to have, a television channel that started on UHF.
You thought it would have been important?
Yes.
Thought it then?
Well,
And
no.
today?
Yes.
Tonight?
What about today and tonight? It is
How important you see
it is
the role
important.
that... Yes,
It is
please
important.
continue.
You think it's not important?
No. In fact, I do.
Okay.
But it's just that we thought, and then how about now?
No,
And
it's
this is-
important because of the people who attended the conference. We
Yes.
wanted a tool to inform them. It's an international conference, so big at the time, and we did not think that it's going to be a satellite station. It was on ultra high frequency.
Yes,
UHF.
indeed.
So just covering the conference. Okay? It's not in terms of coverage, but covering the activities of the conference
Yes.
on the ultra frequency. However, since we realized the importance of it and we can do it, it started to broadcast in 1993 and up to Nilesat once we developed the cadres necessary So we started the Nile TV on Nilesat, and also a French service that followed, and a Hebrew service.
Yes, indeed.
But later on, Hebrew is not included. However, Nile TV in English and in French, they still play important role when we talk about approaches like cultural diplomacy, public diplomacy, and how we can win the hearts and minds of people outside of this country, whether in Asia or in Europe and United States. So again, maybe in terms of reach, it's a little bit needs to be boosted, as well as upgrading the services. But it's still it's an Egypt arm to reach out for those who are a second, citizens of the second generation in the United States and in Europe and in Asia, but with reference to their homeland, Egypt, and therefore they would like to know more information about it, and you providing it them with this service. Now, this is again, there is a Nile TV with great potential, and the work of the decision makers and the work of the people who are working in Nile TV must convert this potential into reality.
Well, we hope so. Very much
to full
hope so.
capacity. In addition to this, there were, of course, thematic channels that was introduced and was upgraded by members of ERTU. And then Nilesat, the second satellite, was launched, and they are really carrying a lot of services. These services, maybe 1,250 channels. This is the latest that I get. A great development that concurrently happened is the establishment of the media city, the media production city, which is feeding and located next to the Egyptian Nilesat, and it is important to say that the feeding the Nilesat with content. Mm-hmm. Content is very important, and right now there is a call by the Egyptian president, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, to go through digital transformation.
Yes, we spoke about history,
yeah,
and we're speaking about today.
All right.
It's
a good point to stop here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because today it's totally different. We're speaking about media that has lots of tools, that is becoming of such very negative and very positive aspects. How do you view the media today, and how do you view the scene of the media with all the channels that exist, with all the tools that it has? Because media is not just the radio and television; it's also the apps, the social media, every thing is becoming or is taking us into a small village. How do you view the very challenging mission of the media today?
You're putting all things together,
I'm trying, because I have limited time,
okay.
so I'm trying to
all right,
get...
so we'll make it easy.
Okay.
We'll make it easy to people. There is some positive things that are happening, this is for sure.
Yes.
Media is not only governmental media or state media.
Yes.
No, media is independent media and private media.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, and social media, because we're talking about citizen journalism and other aspects related to social media. Right now, they're growing,
yes,
and it's a good part of the scene, the media scene. So today is this, when we say celebrating, we're not celebrating the people in this building only.
No.
No, we're celebrating everybody working in Egyptian media.
Indeed.
Okay? And it's so diverse. It's so diverse. That's why I'm saying to the far left, to the far the right, or I don't want to say negative, but I'm going to make it easy to people to understand. Media has a very strong relationship with national security. Okay? When a country passes through two revolutions and you have certain elements are threatening the state from outside, you take the Nile, for example, and the dam that the Ethiopians are building. This is a threat. When you go to Sinai, there is another threat. When you go to Libya, there is a threat. And when you have a situation like this, you need to have some sort of position. I'm not saying control, a position, a strong position. That's why you need to cluster, put together, or merge companies through ownership. And it happened, by the way, it happened in many countries in Eastern Europe, in the United States. When you look at the major players who came together to have a good share of the market position, like CNN, Warner Brothers, American Online. This is a three top, very strong players. They merged. Why they merged? They merged because they wanted to have a bigger share of the market. So it's the same thing over here. When I say negative things, and you say, a lot of media, especially in social media, start, from the inside because there is no control. We don't have control over the internet. And this is, by the way, it's an international debate.
Actually, this is one of the negative aspects I was speaking about.
Yeah. So in this sense, when we look at countries, when there is no threats, you will find them relaxed. Look at countries with no threats. They will find the freedom of the press and the freedom of expression is wonderful. But over here in Egypt, we are growing with a reasonable rate, okay, with a reasonable rate. And the position of certain private and independent companies together started to create clusters in addition to the public broadcasters that must be developed because it's the backbone of the people in terms of information, entertainment. So I think the next step is, the public broadcaster must play what it is supposed to play, as other public broadcasters have done in terms of restructure and face what the Egyptian people are facing right now. Egyptian people are hammered with transnational broadcasting, carrying agendas, foreign agendas, and they have access to internet. There is no restriction over the internet. There are so many sites that specialize in criticizing the state and the leadership and the regime. And the same in broadcasting, transnational broadcasting. There are, we have witnessed in the past 2 months, for example, like networks, transnational, well-established, coming to us in Arabic. Still, they're making big mistakes. They attack the state and the people. In addition, of course, to the regime. So, in this environment, where is the position that we should take to be able not only to manage the incredible distribution of the media tools, as you said, and its impact on people? It's huge, as well as to be able to compete with the mainstream media that coming to us from different parts of the world with different agendas.
Yes.
So right now, in fairness and in contrast to many people who are saying this is control, No, it's not control, it's a position. And this position, if we go back 6-7 years ago, I was over here talking about that this should be happening because it's very important that after the revolutions, we need some stability to be able to achieve development and progress.
Exactly. And we'll stop here because this coming report is exactly what you're speaking about here, sir. And we will continue with that traditional and social media and integration of values and goals. Let's watch.